This week we're going to highlight the results of last week's USDA Monthly Supply Demand report. We're also going to talk about short-term weather trends for beans and also briefly examine the trends in November soybean futures. Hi, this is Brian Basting with Advanced Trading. Let's talk about the soybean market. We moved into the middle of July here and it's really been a dynamic market. But before we move forward and talk about what we're looking at in terms of the weather and crop development, let's take a look back at last week's USDA Monthly Supply Demand report. Let's take a look at those numbers. Now, as usual here, there's quite a few numbers in our chart. Moving on now, we focused on soybeans. Really no surprises of major note highlighted on the supply side. Really, the USDA did not change their acreage estimate. Of course, from the recent acreage report, they did not change their yield estimate either from what it was earlier in June. Looking at the carryout numbers, a little higher than expected for old crop at 585. However, new crop was a little bit lower than expected at 395, but overall, no major surprises. Moving on now, we're looking at our weekly map of crop conditions for soybeans. As usual, the red circles imply deterioration in the crop, the green circles imply improvement, and the yellow circles imply no change. Now this week we did see a 3 percentage point drop in the good to excellent for beans, a deterioration noted in that northern corn belt, particularly across the northern plains as well as the eastern corn belt. However, overall we're still looking at 68% good to excellent compared to 54% at this time last year. What we want to do now is move on and focus how this year's crop condition index for beans compares to recent years. Now as usual here we've highlighted 2020 in the dark blue line and with an arrow here highlighting we did see some deterioration this week. Here's the key message though. Look at moving forward from the middle of July until harvest. We've seen years where that crop has improved like 2014 and 2016 and we've seen years where that crop has deteriorated quite a bit. Here's the key message. This is the time period where you want to work closely with your trusted risk management consultant to manage price movement associated with changes in crop conditions. What we do now is move on and look at crop development, specifically soybeans blooming. At 48%, you can see we're well above where we were at this time last year. Moving on, over the next 2 weeks, another 31% of the soybeans will go through blooming. So that'll really set us up moving into August for that critical pod set and pod fill time period. Let's focus on the short-term weather trends now. Our slides, as usual, are courtesy of T-Storm Weather. Now first we're focusing on the next 7 days. From July 14th to the 21st, heavy rains are forecast over parts of Iowa, Minnesota, a little bit into Illinois. As you move further east, it doesn't look like the moisture is going to be quite as much. Specifically now zeroing in on Wednesday, July 15th, we're looking at some heavy rain forecast across Illinois and some of those beans really need it. Moving on now, it looks like we're going to move into a warmer period again on Friday through Sunday, especially warm over parts of the key Corn Belt area. Wrapping up the weather trends from Friday through Monday, heaviest precip over that time period looks to be further north here into early next week. Let's wrap things up today looking briefly at the trends in November soybean futures. Now we've looked at this slide before, but the black line depicts 2020 for November soybean futures, and the yellow bars depict the crop insurance periods of February and October. Notice here's the key point. Even from mid-July into harvest, we've seen a lot of volatility in soybean futures in recent years, both to the upside and the downside. This is where you want to work closely with your trusted risk management consultant to manage price movement. Now, if you'd like more information, please feel free to contact us at 800-664-2321. We'll put you in contact with our risk management consultants. We'll be happy to visit with you at your convenience. And remember, we upload every Wednesday. Make sure to subscribe to our channel to never miss an upload. Thanks a lot. Have a good week.